everybody. Welcome to the Headset webinar. We will get started. We're going to give people some time to file in. We're a whole minute early even. And we will get started right around 11:02, very specific time of 11:02. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Headset webinar. We're still waiting for participants to file in, so we'll probably get started in about 1 more minute.
All right, Liz, 11:02. Should we go ahead and get started?
Absolutely, yeah. Take it away, Joe.
All right. So I have the pleasure of introducing everyone today. My name is Joe Cullen, and I'm a customer success manager here at Headset. First and foremost, I want to thank you for joining us today. Wherever you are, we hope that you are well, you are in good spirits, good health, and we really appreciate you carving out time out of your busy schedules to meet with us today. It's crazy that we're already gearing up for the holiday season, and we are so excited to talk promotional strategy. But before I introduce today's speakers, I want to first address some housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded and sent to each of you. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the chat functionality in the toolbar below, and we will respond to questions at the end. And we'll respond to any unanswered questions in a follow-up blog post. Lastly, we will be offering each of you a free week of retailer premium for attending, an offer that you can redeem by reaching out to one of our sales reps at info@headset.io. And that information will also be in the follow-up. Now, we will be highlighting our retailer premium tool today, but retailer premium is just one tool within the larger Headset ecosystem. So for those of you who are unfamiliar or new to Headset, I want to quickly just provide a brief introduction to our suite of products. So the first product is called Insights, and this is our market intelligence product that provides real-time access into market level data, now serving 10 recreational markets, reporting on metrics like brand rankings, demographic trends, product level performance, and so much more. Our second product is called Bridge. And Bridge is a tool that enables retailers to directly share sales and inventory data with their vendors to facilitate a more collaborative relationship. And this is modeled off of a common retailer practice called VMI, or vendor managed inventory. And lastly, Retailer is our third product, which most of you are probably using. And Retailer is a business intelligence tool for cannabis retailers to better track their sales, optimize inventory practices and streamline operations. Earlier this year, we launched Retailer Premium, which is a product add-on to Retailer Pulse. And Premium really gives cannabis retailers the ability to dig into their customer base, to understand who their customer is, understand their purchasing behavior, and better understand the various channels through which they're acquiring customers. And as I mentioned previously, we will be using Retailer Premium to really guide today's conversation. Now, as a customer success manager, I have the pleasure of talking to retailers every day, many of whom are on this call today. And if you're currently a Headset client, you and I may have at some point discussed promotional strategy. And from my various conversations with retailers, retailers of all sizes, this topic of promotions and discounting has come up a lot. And from what I've gleaned, there's still a massive blind spot in the industry when it comes to discounting. What should I discount? How often should I discount? How much should I discount? And people are really craving data to help give them a better sense of direction. And so I'm thrilled to bring this webinar to you all today because I know this is something that a lot of you have asked for. And with the holidays around the corner, I think it's a very timely and important conversation to be had. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. First, we have the Honorable Liz Connors, the brain of Headset, more formally known as Headset's Director of Analytics. Prior to working for Headset, Liz worked as a data scientist in CPG retail and financial services, as well as spent some time in financial and economic consulting. And among her many, many talents, Liz is now a budding watercolorist and dabbler in oil pastels. Our second speaker, Cooper Ashley, is also a data analyst and the new owner of the cutest Labradoodle named Louie, who honestly deserves his own headshot on this slide. Cooper also writes a lot of our industry reports, and prior to joining Headset, used to work in sales and logistics for a cannabis producer processor in Washington. Our third speaker is Cassie Thielen, another data analyst extraordinaire, who came to Headset from Hanes as a data analyst. And Cassie admittedly loves needlepoint embroidery a little too much. So if you're in a bind and still need a present around the holidays this year, Cassie might just hook you up with some custom embroidery. Last but not least, Jewel Lurie will be rounding out today's webinar. And Jewel is Headset's Senior Product Manager. She came to Headset from Tableau, where she was basically a professional storyteller. And if that's not cool enough, Jewel plays in 3 bands and has the most aesthetically pleasing velvet green couch I've ever seen. So basically, we have 4 very cool, very smart, talented people here to help educate us. And before I get myself into too much trouble, Liz, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you introducing all of us.
Yeah.
And our hobby. So let's get started with what we're going to go through today. So here's our agenda. Today, the goal is the overall goal is to walk us through holiday season, do some of our discount planning. We're going to start by offering discounting do's and don'ts, and I'm going to go through a bit of discounting theory. So why do we discount and what makes good discount? Next, Cassie, Cooper, and Jewel are going to walk you through our product. So they're going to take some of those do's and don'ts that I talk about and show you how to do and how to don't those things using some of the data that is available to you in our retailer tool. And then finally, Jewel is going to get a little bit into a new feature that we're working on that allows you to do some customer segmentation for campaigns. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing, so I think Joe kind of walked people through the goal, but what we really wanted to talk about was some of the better discount strategies, and specifically building some of that data-driven approach into our discounting strategies so that we can be sure that the discounts that we're running are working for us as retailers. So to get started, what I want to do is just sort of take a step back and briefly talk about discounting theory. So discounts are an important part of running any retail business. But as retail operators, we want to be sure to keep in mind the goal of discounts as we plan our discounting strategy. So why do we discount? I think at the highest level, discounts really serve just a single purpose. and it's to change consumer behavior in order to drive incremental unit volume. So let's talk for a minute about what that means. When we give a discount, we're incenting our customers to alter their behaviors. We hope that the presence of a discount will encourage consumers to make a purchase they would not have otherwise made at that time. By enticing consumers that would not have otherwise purchased a product to make a purchase, we sell more units. This increase in unit volume then increases our total penny profit and offsets some of the loss in the profit per unit. So to break this down, what I'm going to do is take it step by step through an example so that we can see how that would actually work. So for our example, let's assume that we sell a product that costs $10, and that product costs us $5 to purchase from our producer. So doing a little bit of quick math here, if we sell the product for $10, we purchase it for $5, our profit, our per unit profit is $5. Let's say in a typical week, we sell about 1,000 of these products. So in a typical week, we will usually make about $5,000 in profits. So that's our 1,000 units times our $5 profit. So at the end of the day, we have $5,000 to take home and put in our piggy bank. I used to teach accounting, so let me just make this example all look like a nice little accounting equation here. So it's nice and tidy. This is what I just took you through, that $10 product, $5 cost, $5 margin for a total profit of $5,000. So let's assume we decide to run a 10% discount on this product. So we take its price from $10 to $9. That really wouldn't change our cost, right? Our cost is still our cost. And so now we're getting a profit of $4 per unit. So this 10% discount led to a 20% decrease in profit per unit. So if we still just sold our 1,000 units that we were selling before, what our discount did was took our total profits from $5,000 to $4,000. This is often called giving away margin. So what happened here, if this discount wasn't effective and we didn't drive any unit volume, is we gave away about $1,000 of our profit without getting any more in. So instead, and we are very sad. So instead, what we hope to do is drive unit volume. So let's do a little back of the envelope math for you here. So if we wanted to get $5,000 in profits with our new discounted rate, we would be getting $4 of profit for each of those units sold. So we would need to sell 1,250 units in order to still get our $5,000 profit. So what happened here is we gave a 10% discount. It brought our profit down by 20%. And so we need to increase our unit volume by 25% to recap those same total profits. So at the end of the day, we have the same number of pennies to put into our piggy banks. So this is what we want to think about as we're building all of our marketing campaigns. That's really the goal with all of these discounts, is that we determine the total amount of units we want to drive so that we can still retain our profits, right? And so I think with this in mind, as we sit down to build these discounts, this is some of the math we should be doing to understand what would be a successful campaign. In this case, a successful campaign would be one that drove at least 1,251 units. So as long as we sold 1,251 units, running this 10% discount means that at the end of the day, I had more pennies to put in my piggy bank than if I had not run the discount. So knowing what makes good discounts, let's go through just a couple of types of discounts. This isn't all the discounts that exist, but I kind of want to walk you through some of the larger ones, some of the more common campaigns. So today I'm going to talk through 3 major types of campaigns, and I'm going to give some examples of each one. And then I'll hand it off to the other head setters to walk you through some example analyses you can do both before running a campaign and after running a campaign to understand if your discounting was successful. So what I'll start with is customer-focused campaigns. Here, our goal is to alter customer behavior as it relates to the total customer spend. I think it's easiest to think about your customers in 2 discrete buckets: current customers, or those that already shop at your store, and potential new customers, or those that you're trying to get to shop at your store, but they've not yet come in. Let's talk about new customers first. New customers can come from many sources. You could recruit customers from competing retailers. You could recruit customers into cannabis that weren't previously cannabis consumers, or you could recruit customers into the regulated channel from the illicit market. Here, retailers often do discounts like 10% off your first purchase, or if it's legal in your market, a free pre-roll or a free lighter with your first purchase. These campaigns are often run through ad agencies or via referral campaigns, as you do not yet have an established relationship with your customer. Next, let's talk about your current customers. These are people that you have established relationships with. These are customers that are already shopping in your store. Here, often retailers will run a discount campaign to entice customers to spend more money in store. So major discounts people run for current customers include things like basket growth campaigns. So for example, if the average basket for your store or for the group of customers you're looking at is $50, perhaps you want to run a $5 off 75 to entice your customers to increase their total basket. In this case, what we would be doing is giving away that $5 from our margin, but we're also getting that additional $25 spend from those customers. Another common discount to incent customers is to decrease their purchase cycle or come in more often. So for example, if the customer segment shops at your store once every 2 weeks, you could run a campaign giving customers a 10% discount if they return to your store within the next 7 days. So this entices them to shop in your store more frequently. Now for these customers, these current customers of yours, you likely have touch points with them. So you could have them as part of your loyalty program. Perhaps you can do SMS messaging or email messaging to them, or perhaps you can give discount codes when they're in store. So Jewel is later going to walk through some of our segmentation products to help you understand how to run these campaigns better. But before I hand it off, we've got 2 more types of campaigns to talk about. So next, let's talk about product-specific campaigns. Product-specific campaigns come in many flavors, but I'll talk about 2 very common ones today. The first is a product trial campaign. These types of discounts incent customers to try a product that is either new to your store or even just new to that customer. A common campaign that a retailer may run here is a certain % off a new brand, or even a giveaway like buy an 1/8 of flour and get a free pre-roll. The goal of these campaigns is to get customers to buy a product they would not have previously purchased. Cassie's later going to walk through a few of these types of product campaigns. Another common product-specific campaign is a switching campaign. Here we attempt to convert customers from a lower margin product into a higher margin product. So as an example, let's say I run a retail store in Oregon where deli-style flour is common. And I have 3 different tiers of sativa. I have a value sativa, a core sativa, and a premium sativa. I know my margin on the premium bud is $15 for each 1/8 I sell. And my margin on the value bud is $7 for each 1/8 that I sell. I may want to run a campaign for, say, $3 off 1/8 of premium bud. This drops my profit on the premium bud from $15 to $12. But if I can convert people from the value priced product with only a margin of $7, I still end up with more pennies at the end of the day for my piggy bank. And finally, we will talk about event-specific campaigns. In particular, we'll talk about holidays. I want to break holidays into 2 types here: the traditional holidays like Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and then the cannabis-specific holidays like 420 and Dab Day and Green Wednesday. For traditional holidays, campaigns often include inciting people to include cannabis as part of their celebrations. So here you can think things like gift giving. So perhaps it's, you've probably seen campaigns like buy an 1/8 for yourself and get 10% off your second 1/8 and a free gift bag to put it in. Here we're incenting consumers that were in there to purchase something for themselves, to also purchase something for a loved one or a friend. Other types of incentives here are incenting people to purchase items for parties, like promoting multi-pack joints at New Year's, or even hostess gifts of premium chocolates for the parties that people will go to. I suppose that's if parties happen this year. Perhaps that'll be a bit more of a campaign for 2021. And then lastly, let's talk about format-specific holidays. For format-specific holidays, it's important to keep in mind that customers are there to buy products to celebrate cannabis in particular. Here, it would probably most benefit me as a retailer to run discounts on higher margin items and incent larger baskets. So we know that people are here. We know that they want to buy stuff. They're already in your store. And once they're there, trying to convert them into some of your higher margin items with discounts, 1, brings up your profit on that day, but 2, might introduce customers to those higher margin products for continued purchasing later on. Especially on the format specific holidays, we're very likely to see our loyal customers and our cannabis enthusiasts. And so this is a great time to try to get people to try new stuff because you know it is a very loyal consumer. So while these aren't the only types of campaigns that are common that can help incent consumer behavior, these are the ones we'll focus on today. And remember, our whole goal with these is, again, to drive incremental purchases and give us more penny profit in our piggy banks. So now that we have a little bit of a better understanding about why we discount and the types of discounts people run, I'm going to hand it off to Cooper and have him talk a bit more about some of these holiday specific campaigns.
Thanks, Liz. Let me get my screen going. Okay, so for my portion today, I'm going to kind of play the part of the store manager of the Belltown location of our imaginary demo retail chain, Emerald Valley, which is something we have in Headset Retailer to demo the product, just kind of some realistic but fake data from our hypothetical chain of stores. And as store manager, I'm getting ready to start planning some promotions for this upcoming holiday season. So I'm going to dive into the demand planning module of Retailer and see what I can learn about the holidays last year so that I can inform my decisions for this season. And so one thing I want to highlight in my presentation here is, we all have a tendency to maybe trust our own anecdotal memory or our own anecdotal experiences a little more than we should. So I'm going to kind of weave that into the narrative here. So let's say that as a store manager, I remember the holiday season being really busy last year. I remember that, especially what I'm going to focus on today is that week right leading up to Christmas, that last minute gift buying period. I remember it just being a really busy time in our shop last year. So we're going to dive into that and learn exactly what happened. So where I'm starting is on the demand planning module on the period over period dashboard. And if I would imagine most people on this webinar have seen Retailer before. If you haven't, welcome, here it is. And so how this works is we've got groups of dashboards on the left and then the list of dashboards within each subgroup. And then across every dashboard is you're going to have filters to allow you to look at the data in whichever way you'd like. So I'm starting by just taking a broad look at the week over week sales in my store last year. So I've got my date range set to 2019 in total. I have it filtered so that we can see the full weeks at the beginning and end of the year. And so let's take a quick look at this filter selection period over period volume graph. All that means filter selection is it's giving me everything I've selected up here. And here the blue bars are going to show me the total revenue for each week. And then the overlaid line shows me the week over week growth. So if it's positive, the week that it's on was bigger than the week previous. And we can immediately see some things stand out. The week of 4/15, which of course includes cannabis's biggest holiday, 4/20, it has quite large growth, and then the week after has a pretty big collapse because people do their shopping on 4/20 and then they maybe didn't come back the next week. But I want to get a little more granular. We're talking about the holidays, so I'm going to adjust my time frame and just look at Q4 of last year. And again, we're looking at week over week. And so right off the bat, I can see that if we're kind of looking at this approaching the holiday season, we've got a week of positive growth here on November 25th. That is, of course, the week of Thanksgiving and, more importantly for us, Black Friday and Green Wednesday. So we had some positive growth there. Then just kind of held steady the first week of December, but then actually we can see these blue bars decreasing all the way up to the week of Christmas, and that shows down below. We've got negative growth week over week, moving towards Christmas, and then positive growth on the week of New Year's Eve. And so right off the bat, my anecdotal memory about huge sales last year leading up to Christmas, that busy time, has kind of been proved wrong already. So I've learned something already in my analysis. But I can't shake this feeling that something was different, something was busy and exciting last year. There was the holiday buzz. So I'm going to jump over to our holiday sales bump analysis dashboard, which it happens to be my personal favorite dashboard in all of Retailer because it's really powerful, but it is fairly complicated. So let me just break it down quickly for everyone. The main thing you get to do here is you select a time frame. It can only be from 1 to 7 days. So here I've selected the entire week leading up to Christmas, the 18th through Christmas Eve. And what this dashboard does is it takes the average daily sales during this time period I've selected and compares that to the average daily sales of the same 4 previous time periods. So in this case, it's the average daily sales of the previous 4 weeks. If I'd selected just one day, say a Friday, it would compare it to the average daily sales of the previous 4 Fridays. And then we can, in some graphs down below, we can slice our data by brand or vendor or a couple other options, I think, and we can filter by category. Lots of filters. I'm just leaving it totally open. And we're going to look at this first graph, sales lift by category. And so what we've got here is the light blue bar shows the average daily sales for the given category. So this first one is flower during my selected time frame, so the week before Christmas. And then the dark blue bar shows the average daily sales during that comparison time period, the previous 4 weeks. And then the dot shows us the growth in the selected time period versus the compare time period. And so here we can see that flower, like any day of the year, was my largest revenue driver during the week before Christmas, but it did actually see negative growth versus those previous 4 weeks. So during the last minute shopping for the holidays, people were buying less flower than they had been. That might be something we'd like to change since it's our highest revenue category. We can see that concentrates and vapor pens did moderately well at 8.4 and 13.5% increases. Pre-rolls more or less held steady at about 2% increase. But then we get over to the right, and here we see the real winners of the week before Christmas last year. We've got edibles with 45.2% increase, non-cannabis or accessories at 40%, and beverages did quite well as well, with 25.6. So just in a few minutes here, we already have learned 2 things. Total sales were actually kind of down. They were trailing off towards Christmas, but people were shopping differently. They were shopping for edibles and beverages specifically. So with that information, I'm going to jump back to the period over period dashboard, but we've got some different filters applied here. So we can really dive into what was going on with these specific categories. So again, our date range is now only the week before Christmas, and I've changed the date granularity filter to day. So each of these blue bars now represents sales on a certain day of the week. And I've also filtered to beverages and edibles only. So now we're looking at the sales of these categories that we know did particularly well. And what I kind of am looking for here is what was going on during that week. How should I plan promotions around maybe the days of the week? And also what's really here is I can start to think about the staffing needs I might have. And typically, as I'm sure most people on this call know, the busiest days of the week in the average cannabis store are Fridays and Saturdays. So if we're just going to look at this graph, we might think, oh, Friday, Saturday. That's actually not the case. Friday it was the 20th and Saturday was the 21st last year. So for beverages and edibles, we actually had negative growth on Friday, and then we had strong positive growth on Saturday, and then continued positive growth into Sunday. So people were buying more and more edibles and beverages kind of through the weekend here. Then it tailed off on Monday, not a lot of shopping. That's typical for pretty much any week of the year. And then we had huge growth on Tuesday, which was, of course, Christmas Eve. And what's pretty fascinating here to me is that there was more sales on the Tuesday of this week than there were on either the Friday or Saturday for these 2 gift-oriented categories. And that basically never happens. You never see a Tuesday bigger than a Friday. But of course, this is just for beverages and edibles. So if I'd like to know what was going on in my whole store, we can just scroll down and conveniently compare it right here. So the light blue line is the day over day growth for total sales in my store, whereas the dark blue line is my filtered selection, which is just the beverages and edibles. So I think there's a couple differences to highlight here. like we just saw, beverages and edibles actually kind of did poorly on Friday, whereas my total store did have positive growth, which again is fairly normal. That might tell me that the Friday of that particular week was a little more of a normal shopping day. People were buying their typical things, maybe thinking a little bit less about these gift-oriented products. Quite well on Saturday, that's pretty normal, but beverages and edibles did better. And then Sunday, our total store sales actually decreased versus Saturday, which again is pretty normal, but then the abnormality is in those gift categories, beverages and edibles. Both did poorly on Monday, and then both did extremely well on Christmas Eve. So that tells me that cannabis gift buyers and just maybe all cannabis shoppers in general are just like other retail sectors, are a bit of procrastinators when it comes to the holiday season. So from this right here, I'm knowing right away that Christmas Eve is going to be a busy day in my store this year, and I should plan staffing and promotions accordingly. So we know that let's recap what we've learned. We know that total sales were kind of down this week in general, but consumers were shopping differently in terms of what they were shopping for and when they were shopping for those items. And so now we kind of want to ask the question of why. Why were people buying beverages and edibles? I can't quite remember. Were we running a huge promotion on those categories last year because we knew people liked them? Conveniently, I can head over to the discount analysis dashboard, again, within the demand planning module, and answer that question. So I just want to review my filter so you can go do this on your own in your own shop. We're looking at the week before Christmas. Date granularity is day, and then we're filtered to just beverage and edible sales again. I'm going to skip this one because we've looked at most of these sales already. But here's the big information packed line graph here. We have our discount for our average daily discount for our filter selection, beverages and edibles, in the dark purple, and the total store average discount in the light blue line. And what we can see here is that the average discount for beverages and edibles every week or every day of the week last year was lower than our total store average discount, except for Saturday, they were about the same. But every other day, it was a relatively lower discount, including on Christmas Eve, than what we were offering to the average customer in our store. So that kind of rounds out our analysis with one more very important piece of information. So we've got people were shopping for beverages and edibles. They were shopping on different days of the week on average than usual, and they weren't really looking for a discount. So for a huge discount on beverages and edibles this year, I'd probably just be giving away margin, just like Liz described, as something in discounting strategy that we want to avoid. And just to kind of add one more piece of evidence to this analysis, I'm going to head back to the holiday sales bump dashboard. And now I've filtered my sales to just these two categories. If we scroll past this category lift graph, got a nice information packed table down here. And because I've sliced by brand, we're now looking at sales in these two categories by brand. And we've got the average daily sales of our Christmas week versus the comparison average daily sales of the previous 4 weeks. And over here is the percent increase by brand in those total sale values. So we can see in the top 5 here, we've got a couple that really stand out that did super well for us last year. We have Verdilux and Mr. Moxie's, both with, between 1.5 and 2 times total growth. And so why did what stands out about these two particular brands to me is that their discount during the compare date here is higher than during the select date. So that would be Christmas week, previous 4 weeks. Verdilux, we decreased their discount from 15 to 12%, and their total sales increased by 76%. Mr. Moxie's, the difference is much bigger. We have 20.8%, and it decreased to 8.6% during the week before Christmas. So that just really drives home that people were ready to buy these gifty categories, edibles and beverages, and they don't appear. It doesn't appear like they were looking for a discount specifically. So with all of that, in a little over 10 minutes, we've really learned quite a bit about what our customers did last year, and so to figure out a new promotion for this year, we want to make sure that we don't give away margin where we don't have to. And if we scroll back up, my target this year is flower. I would really like this little blue dot when I look at this graph, in January. I want that dot to be in the positive. I'd like to see an increase in my flower sales. So Liz kind of hinted at one of my ideas in her section. I think we know people want edibles and beverages. So let's say a hypothetical promotion could be you buy a full price edible and beverage, maybe 100 milligram or whatever the full size is in your market, and you are eligible for a 15 or 10% discount on an eighth of premium or mid-range flower, some of those higher margin flower products. So if you think about what that could do for an individual customer's basket, they come in for a $20 edible, and if you're able to add a $35 eighth to their basket, you've more than doubled it, and you've greatly increased your take-home penny profit for the transaction. So with that, I'm going to wrap my section and hand it over to Cassie, who's going to tell us more about discounting.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to pop up my retailer now. All right. So I'm so pumped to get the opportunity to talk to you about discounting. It's definitely one of my favorite things to analyze. For this analysis, I am also going to pretend I work alongside Cooper at Emerald Valley Belltown. So to begin our journey with one another, we are going to start with our flexible dashboard discount overview, which can be found in Retailer Pulse. This is one of my favorites because I can stay on it while I work through a whole analysis. Like Cooper, I am really curious about our discounting activity from last holiday season, and I want to see the relationship between average percent discounts and units sold. The first graph, average percent discount and unit volume, shows units as the bars and the percent discounts is the line. Since there are no filters selected on top, this first graph is showing data for my whole store. I see that last holiday season, we were discounting around 18 to 16% and getting around 18,000 units a month. But as we look at recent months, we see a different trend thanks to COVID. I am seeing much higher discounting so far this fall, as we also are comparing this October so far compared to last October. I am now shifting my focus to what is happening in my store currently. Since my discounting is already so high, maybe I can keep the same level of discounts, but work on gaining more incremental units. So let's continue our journey by diving into the last 90 days. We now see that discounts have slipped a bit, but the last few weeks, units dropped more than they should have. Cooper made it clear, and I was listening, that edibles are an important category for us during the holiday season. Let's see how those have been performing. I updated the dashboard to show data for edibles. In the first graph, we see edibles have been actually very steady in sales. But let's review some brand data to assure there is no room for improvement. Average item price and discount percent shows average item price as the blue bars, and the orange dots are the percent discounts. I'm reviewing these edible brands, and I'm noticing that high percentage discounts are on some cheaper brands over here, and the premium brands aren't being as highly discounted. I think I have an action item for us. After reviewing all this data, an action I will be taking is to increase my discounting on premium products and decrease on cheaper products within the edible category, and see how that affects my edible unit sales. If this is successful, this can also help me determine a good strategy for my other categories as the holiday season comes up. That's all the time I'm going to spend with you on this dashboard. We will be traveling to another dashboard, a new dashboard, that isn't even in our product yet, that I would love feedback on. We made this dashboard to allow users to compare 2 time periods of data together. Let's say you are updating your edible discounting strategy the first week in October, and you're discounting less on cheaper edible products, but strengthening them on premium products. You want to simply compare the first week of October to the previous week. This chart right here makes it very simple. So we can select the first week in October in the first date range, then the prior week in the second comparable date range. Have the metric set to total units. And then we can easily see that edibles did indeed have a lift, this light blue compared to the dark blue. We also have a comparison table down below if you want to download that. This is still being worked on, and if you have any feedback on this dashboard, please let us know, and thank you in advance. Our last stop on our journey is about bringing discounting and demographics together. The dashboard we are going to be using is discount analysis and can be found in Retailer Premium. There's a slick heat map in this dashboard. Heat maps are so nice because our eyes easily see differences. This heat map is showing gender on the bottom and age group to the left. And the percent is the average percent discount each demographic is getting at my store. You can see that the darkest shades are in females, particularly between 26 and 35. I'm going to filter just for that demographic next to understand them a little bit more. The bar chart has divided the demographic up by discount sensitivity. This means that those females who are 26 to 35 and using a discount percentage of 0 to 10 have an average basket size of about $21, $22 and a discount of 8%. The group that interests me the most is that darn high discount shopper. They have only a basket size of like $27, but then their discount percentage is up to 49%. This is concerning me. That basket size should be much larger. The next thing I'm going to do is scroll down to see what promotion codes they're using. So the highest amount of promotion code is coming from that 49% off. I made a mistake, I think. So I had a 49% off a basket size of $50. That definitely isn't going to do anymore. I might consider possibly giving a 49% off a $100 basket or more, or I might also just try to do a $5 off $35 basket in the future. Also, just note that I am only looking at one demographic for this, so I probably should look at the whole customer basis before I make any crazy actions. So that's all I'm going to share with you today. Thank you again for coming on this data journey with me. And now I'll let you dive into further customer data with my lovely coworker, Jewel. Thank you.
Thanks, Cassie. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about today. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of a brand new feature that is not quite in the product yet, but will be there in time for you to help manage your campaigns. So we've been talking a lot today about how to create effective discounts and campaigns along that, but you have to communicate those to your customers somehow. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So let me just get my slides here. So one thing that we're implementing into Headset to help you really target the right people and give the right people the right discount codes is this thing called RFM segmentation. So RFM is a model that is used a lot in marketing, and this stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. So the recency is how recently did the customer purchase something. The frequency is how frequently does the customer come to the shop. And the monetary value is how much does this customer spend. So we take these three factors and we divide your customers into kind of the top group for recency, the top group for frequency, the top for monetary value, mix all of those up, and we end up with 10 different segments that your customers can end up in. So to start with, these are kind of your higher up segments, the ones that are your really good customers. So we have your champions. They're going to rate really high in recency, frequency, and monetary value. They buy recently, they buy often, and they spend the most. And something that you can do to reward your champions is give them information when you have new products, because they might be early adopters. Encourage them to do things like write reviews and promote your brand. Next in our line are loyal customers. So they spend good money with us and they spend it often, but maybe they haven't come as recently as our champions. So they're really responsive to promotions. So upselling higher value products, engaging them, that's a good way to go for these people. Potential loyalists are recent customers that spend a good amount and they've bought more than once. So they're not quite at the frequency of a loyal customer or a champion, but they're getting there. So if we want to convert these into a higher customer segment, we can offer them membership or loyalty points. Maybe if they're already a loyalty member, you can do something like double points the next time you come in, just to get them acquiring more points and get them kind of locked into your system. Recent customers, they bought pretty recently, but they don't buy very often. So for them, it's really about making sure that they feel comfortable coming back and building that relationship. A promising customer, it's a recent customer that hasn't spent as much. We've got our needs attention customer. So this is where we start to have like above average recency, frequency, and monetary values, but they haven't bought very recently compared to the rest of your group. So you offer them limited time offers, that kind of thing. And when we get towards the bottom, that's when we're seeing people that haven't come in very frequently, or that's mainly what we're seeing. So we really want to win them back by giving them something that'll bring them back into the store. So now I'm going to share with you a couple of dashboards that will be entering the product soon that will help you understand these different customer segments within your store. So here we first have an overview of your customer segments, and we can see how many customers we actually have phone numbers or email addresses for, since that's how you're going to be communicating with these people. So we have 813 phone numbers for our Emerald Valley Belltown store. And we can see the majority of our customers are actually just straight new customers. That means they've only been once and it was within the last 90 days. That makes sense for this store. If you know anything about Seattle, Belltown is kind of a hub for, that's where a lot of the downtown area, it's close to the downtown area. So a lot of like tourists probably coming through there. But we do see that even though we only have 41 people in our champion segment, they're spending a significant amount of our revenue is coming from them. So over $11,000 in revenue has come just from our champions in the past year. We can see their average basket is, or our average revenue per customer is about $300 per person. If we scroll down here, we can see how our customers are broken down that way by segment, and then their total revenue. So there we can see, yeah, that those champions are over 20% of our revenue. And I think that our champions are going to be likely to try to evangelize more cannabis shopping this holiday season. So I maybe want to send out a campaign to them to alert them of new special seasonal products or things that we think will make good gifts, because we know that they're really comfortable shopping for cannabis. So we want to give them new novel things that they might not have seen before. So I'm going to dig into that champion segment a little bit more. So here I'm looking specifically at the champions at my same store. We can see there's those counts of them. Their average basket is about $30. I think we could grow that significantly. So that's what we're going to try to do with our campaign. And we could actually even see all of our individual people here in our champion segment, how much their average basket is, their total revenue. We could use this to make some decisions about what kinds of discounts we might want to offer. We can also see when's the last time they were in. So it looks like pretty much everyone in this segment has been in within the last week. And they typically go around anywhere from, less than a week to an entire month in between visits. So we can take this whole list and just export it as a CSV. And that will allow us to import it into whatever CRM we're using to manage our customers, whether that's, Spring Break or Sprout or anything like that. And from there, we can compose those messages and send them out. So that's our new segmentation dashboards. These will be landing in Retailer Premium very soon. And with that, I will kick it back to Joe to close up stuff.
Yeah, I think we are just going to open the floor for questions now. I think we've already had a couple questions come through. But yeah, if you...
Oh, sorry, Joe.
No, go for it, Liz.
Yeah, we had a couple of questions come through. Just a reminder, there's a little Q&A button down at the bottom. It's got two kind of bubbles next to it. So if you do have any questions, put those in there. But to start, one of the questions that was asked was, what is the typical discount that a store runs? And so I went through our insights data to do this, and I will just quickly share my screen so you can see the visualization I put together real quick. So here we go. So what we see is it varies quite a bit by state. The average discount on a transaction is about 10%. But we see higher discounts in Washington, lower discounts in Colorado. Now remember, within an average, there's all sorts of bits. So that 10% average could mean that half the baskets had a 20% discount, half had no discount. But on average, when we look at a retailer across these markets, we're seeing about 10% discounts. So definitely something that you could do is log into the tool and look to see what the discounts are like in your store and if it's at parity with your market, for sure. I'm gonna stop sharing there. And then we had another question. This one was specifically for Cooper. Similar question, Cooper, people were what the typical discount amount around the holidays in particular is.
Yeah, I also saw this come through, and I'm just going to share my insights screen here. So the typical discount around the holiday season, this again, so we have a demand planning module in Retailer Premium. We also have it as an add-on in Insights with remarkably similar dashboards because it's just they're powerful visualizations, whether you're looking at a total market or at your own store. And so what I've done is I've set my filters to be kind of October through, oopsies, I need to stand by. I need to get my filters back to 2019 is good. Sorry, I'm losing track of where I am. The quarantine brain. Okay, so we're looking at the end of last year, and what we've got here, I filtered to edibles as well, and we can see if we scroll down the total units sold each week and the average discount. So we can see a big increase in discount around Thanksgiving and a decent increase in total units sold for edibles. But then a much bigger week, the week before Christmas, with a lower discount than on the Black Friday week, which I think is pretty interesting. But we do see this like trend of discount going up. But then if we're going to compare edibles to the total market, we've got, again, this percent discount comparison here. And so during the holiday week last year in California in particular, we had the total market at kind of 9.4% this week and 9.2% this week. So right around that 9% range. It was a little bit lower the previous week. So we definitely saw some increase in discounting right before the holidays. And then edibles were slightly lower, but underwent the same trend. So right around 9% for edibles, about 9.5%, 9.2 to 9.4% for the total market.
Thank you, Cooper. So we have a couple more questions. This next one is, oh shoot, I just navigated away from it. Sorry. So it was, should I during the holidays continue to run my standard discounts that I normally run, or should I switch to something else because it's the holiday season? I think that's a great question. I think that I would probably switch, because I think when you think about what the consumers like during the holidays, I think that our goal or the behaviors that we can incent are going to be different, especially if you're trying to get people to do things like buy gifts or add items for different occasions during the holidays. Along those lines, a question I get asked a lot is for retailers that run really consistent campaigns. So let's say that you run a campaign that's 10% off concentrates every Tuesday, right? And retailers are trying to decide, is that campaign working for me? So you could go through and do a lot of the analysis like Cassie was showing to see if you see unit volume lifts when that discount is on versus when it's off. We have a lift analysis tool that can help with that. And so if you do find, a lot of people are concerned that the discounts aren't efficient for them, but at the same time, they don't want to drive away their customers. So a strategy I've seen successfully employed is that a store will take away that 10% discount on concentrates on Tuesdays, let's say. But for customers that ask for it, they'll give it to them still. So it becomes something that if you're truly concerned about upsetting your customers, you can kind of wean them away from it. So that's something I've seen done. Two more questions in here. One is, does Headset plan to do regional data reports? NorCal is not, SoCal is not, Coachella Valley. And so right now we don't have any regional reports in Insights. Our Insights tool isn't set up that way. However, we can do regional reports as part of our Analyst as a Service package. And so what we do there is we have it's basically consulting contracts, so we can come in and write you custom reports or do consulting for really any of your questions. So for instance, for NorCal and SoCal, it would be very easy for us to do those splits. When we start to get super duper small regions, sometimes we don't have quite enough sample size, but at least for those NorCal, SoCal questions, we could do that through Analyst as a Service. And if you're interested, you can reach out to your customer success rep. And the last question I see in here is, have you started to see discounts become more regular in Michigan yet? And that's a great question that I actually don't know the answer to. I've not yet looked through too much Michigan data. Most of our Michigan data is still up at the category level. However, I do think it's something that I could figure out. So what I'm going to do is either today or tomorrow, I'll go through and put together a small little graph on it, just like a quick analysis. And we will make that available to you somehow. Maybe we will email it. Now I'm just writing all sorts of checks I can't cash. We will put it somewhere for sure. I'll do that fast analysis for you. So those are the questions I had so far. If you have any other ones, I'll give you 10 seconds to get them in. Otherwise, you can always reach out to your customer success rep and ask them the questions. You can email Joe. You could email me. I'm just Liz at headset.io. So we're always happy to answer those questions. But I don't see any more coming in. So Joe, did you have anything to say? We closed everything out?
Yeah, I just want to say again, thanks so much for coming, everyone. We'll be sending out a recap of the webinar and the recording shortly, as well as some additional details on how to access that free week of Retailer Premium. So yeah, best wishes this holiday season. We're here to help, so don't hesitate to reach out. All right.
All right, thanks, Joe. I'm going to close out the webinar now. Thank you, everybody.